watching News Channel 11 in your corner. That's it.
Look, that's a tornado.
Oh, there's a tornado. We have a tornado.
Some terrifying, intense moments as two tornadoes packing strong winds, hail, and rain planted a bullseye on our region. With help from Wings Air Rescue, Chief Meteorologist Mark Reynolds surveyed the aftermath of the powerful line of storms and the damage left behind. Good evening, I'm Sarah Diamond.
And I'm Josh Smith. Communities continue to clean up efforts after the two confirmed tornadoes. Damaged homes, barns, toppled power lines, a whole lot of snapped trees. The National Weather Service says one tornado carved a half-mile path near Rock Springs Road area. The other, an EF1 tornado, had a longer path near Cox Hollow Road, and it ended east of Gray. And we have team coverage of the severe weather aftermath. Chief Meteorologist Mark Reynolds was our eye in the sky this morning, surveying the damage all across our region. And our team of reporters is on the ground visiting some of the hardest hit areas. We want to begin tonight with Kylie McGivern in Sullivan County. Kylie?
Josh, we're on Mitchell Road right now, where the reconstruction behind me and the rebuilding just a day after is quite evident. But if you look right next door, beyond the caution tape, you would think that nothing ever happened. Well, if you did, you'd be wrong.
She said the air feels weird. She said, I've got a strange feeling about what's going to happen.
For Russ Fig and his wife Karen, the storm's first warning sign came not through an alert, but animals.
The neighbor's dog came over and he acted confused, and he was running in circles and barking right after the dog left. That's when we tried to put the stallion in the barn for his safety. He would not go into the barn. He kept running in circles. He was whinnying. He was telling us, hey, something's wrong, something's coming.
The ingredients were all there, a dangerous brew for the perfect storm.
Yellow-gray skies, the freight train sound.
This was the last shot Karen snapped before Russ told her and her mother to take shelter.
Crazy me, I went to the front door and I started watching, and I saw a funnel cloud just swirling and rotating with trees in it. I actually saw a building or something go over the house. Where it landed at, I'm not sure.
In the immediate aftermath of the storm, there was another element Russ was unsure of, and that uncertainty nearly brought him to his knees.
My animals are my children, and when I saw the barns gone and I could not see one of the horses, that's when it hit me in the heart. I panicked.
Two barns, their roofs anchored to withstand 180-mile-per-hour winds, gone in an instant.
Where the big barn ended up at, we find it right here.
And one horse missing.
Later I found her, and she was safe, and thank God for that.
Too Sweet was safe, and miraculously, the three others. When Russ walked out to check his main barn in the morning, he found that the foundation had been lifted about 6 inches off the ground. Amid the damage, a story of survival rose to the top.
You survived the tornado. Yes, you did. You did good, girl.
Russ thanks God and St. Francis, keeper of the animals, for his story narrowly avoiding a tragic end. Here in Sullivan County, EMA Director Jim Bean said that he expects to have preliminary damage numbers to TEMA by tomorrow morning. Also coming up tonight at 7, we will bring you to another home just on the other side of this valley here. Reporting live, Kylie McGivern, News Channel 11 in your corner.
All right, Kylie, thank you very much. The National Weather Service has been out all day surveying damage in Sullivan and in Washington counties.
Emergency management directors we spoke with say preliminary damage estimates and the number of homes damaged by the storms may be ready as early as tomorrow. Sullivan County EMA Director Jim Bean said at least 20 homes were damaged, including a home that was destroyed just off Rock Springs Road. Now, the National Weather Service is getting a clearer picture of the track of those tornadoes.
Anytime there's a tornado, I have to document the width of the tornado path, the length of the tornado path, and the intensity. So that's what we're out here doing today.
Damage assessments will be submitted to the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to determine if federal disaster declarations can be made.
A clearer look today at thousands of dollars in damage near and around several businesses in Gray.
Several people were actually inside the Anytime Fitness building when the storm ripped the roof off. News Channel 11's Allie Hines continues our team coverage tonight. Allie, what is the extent of the damage there?
We are here at Station Square, just off Bobby Hicks Highway. As you can see behind me, the caution tape they've just put up at. Also, the awnings, there's 3 of them that are completely gone. The main damage, though, is on the roof. The owner of the property that I talked to today said when the property owner got the Station Square building last night, after hearing some of the damage, he told me it was much more than he expected. The storm's power ripped parts of the roof off and landed them in the trees and power lines across the street.
The whole roof on top's got to be replaced. There's a wall there on top's got to be built back. So it's hard to say. A couple $100,000 possibly.
I also talked with one of the landscapers here today who says there's also thousands of dollars worth of trees gone from around this property. And right next door at Miners Exchange Bank, you can't see it from here, but they also have roof damage, some serious roof damage, actually. The guys that were working on the roof this morning said there was probably thousands of dollars worth of damage there at Miners Exchange Bank right next door. Reporting live in Gray, Allie Hines, News Channel 11 in your corner.
Allie, thanks. Now today, Washington County, Tennessee commissioners voted yes, switching gears now, for allocation of $50,000 in storm cleanup funds. That's going to help. The county is asking people to form two piles of debris on their curb, one for structural debris, the other for trees. The solid waste department will begin picking up that debris on Wednesday. Others cleaning up a mess of another kind after pounding hail slammed communities in Southwest Virginia and in East Tennessee. Billy Minton in Kingsport took cover and shared this great video of hail pounding her pool and her deck. For others, new windows will be a must after hail, some of it as big as baseballs, shattered windows on cars at the Aquatic Center in Kingsport as well as at several homes.
More than 20 years in prison, the punishment for a Southwest Virginia man charged with the murder of his stepfather. In Lee County Circuit Court today, a judge sentenced 46-year-old Richard Brooks to 21 years and 4 months in prison. Prosecutors said he shot and killed his stepfather in June 2013 in an apartment in Rose Hill and admitted to the shooting. A federal appeals court has struck down Virginia's same-sex marriage ban. A three-judge panel of the 4th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond ruled today the state constitutional provisions barring gay marriage and denying recognition of marriages performed in other states violates the U.S. Constitution.
A Tri-Cities man could spend up to a year in jail and face a fine if convicted. His alleged crime, he's currently married to 2 women.
Bigamy against the law in Tennessee. Scott Testerman appeared in a Jonesboro courtroom this morning to answer to that misdemeanor. The District Attorney General's office charged him with bigamy after one of his wives filed a police report with the sheriff's office. In a special report, Nate Morabito found out although bigamy is rarely prosecuted, it happens more than you might think.
It was a good day. It was a great day.
February 11th, 1993. The day Jerry Testerman's world changed forever.
We were in love.
In front of her friends and family, she tied the knot with the love of her life. The venue? Interestingly enough, the McDonald's on Volunteer Parkway, the place where she worked.
He was kind and sensitive.
The groom? Scott Testerman, the man of her dreams. Or so she thought.
It was devastating.
21 years later,
I couldn't sleep. I hardly ate. I lost like maybe 30 pounds.
Testerman is now dealing with the sad reality that their love story didn't end happily ever after. It didn't even come close.
I guess probably there were signs there. I just didn't see them.
Testerman says for 2 decades, her marriage was about as normal as they come. Her husband treated her daughter like his own, and they all lived a happy life. Then something changed. She says Scott started going fishing a lot, working extra hours and coming home late. Eventually, she says he stopped coming home altogether. For the longest time, she thought he just left her. Only recently did she find out the truth, and it's far worse. On October 11th of last year, at this courthouse in Jonesboro, her husband married someone else, a woman by the name of Sherry.
It was very humiliating, very heartbreaking.
Court documents allege to this day Scott is still married to 2 women, Jerry and Sherry. Marriage certificates back up the bigamy claim.
It is bizarre, the same day of the month, names being so similar.
The district attorneys in the region's 2 largest counties say this kind of criminal case is rare. They each could only recall 1 per county in recent memory. But just because it's rarely prosecuted doesn't mean it's not happening.
It happens, and it happens with some regularity.
Attorney Douglas Carter says he encounters bigamy allegations about once or twice a year in the divorce cases he handles. Bigamy is grounds for divorce in Tennessee.
It's actually number 2 on the list.
At the moment, Carter says there's little anyone can do to prevent the act, aside from honesty on the front end.
You have to be responsible because you're the one that knows what your status was. And if you don't do that, then you're committing a fraud not only on the state of Tennessee, but on your new spouse. And that's a heck of a way to start a marriage.
Can I help you? 16's your change.
As it stands, $105.
We ask you to produce your Social Security card as well as your driver's license.
And a couple of signatures.
They're swearing the information that they have given is true.
Will get you a marriage certificate. By law, clerks across the state have to take applicants at their word. Kathy Story says they can't be skeptical of a person's past.
We don't have the authority to question that.
And seldom can they even turn anyone away.
There are 2 reasons that we could refuse a license, and that would be if we think that they are drunk or if they're mentally incapacitated.
In recent years, the Tennessee legislature has strengthened Tennessee's bigamy law.
It's worth looking at.
But Senator Rusty Crowe wonders if the state needs to do more for the victims.
Even if they're just a few, that's really, really sad for the people involved, the innocent people involved.
A possible solution he's willing to ask about? A centralized database, a way to nationally track marriages and divorces and prevent bigamy.
I'll check and see if there's a way of, getting something organized nationwide so that we could at least have a database.
People in other parts of the country have pushed for that.
If it could just help one family not go through this, then it would have all been worth something.
Testerman thinks a database is the answer. As for her situation, documents reveal she and her husband signed their divorce papers in May, and that divorce should be final soon.
I have started seeing someone.
With that, Jerry is moving on, but she's in no hurry.
I need to wait till I'm divorced.
She says she won't take her new relationship to the next level.
It's been mostly talking.
Until then. Perhaps even more impressive?
I think, they should be able to work it out and have a happy life.
She's giving her husband and his other wife her blessing. Nate Moravito, News Channel 11, in your corner.
Testerman's attorney told us the man would not be commenting about the situation. He goes to trial September 4th. Our attempts to speak with Testerman's new wife have been unsuccessful so far. Mark?
All right, Josh, we are looking at a quieter weather pattern. That's good news if you hit with showers overnight into tomorrow. Not bad. Take a look at this impressive video. Pat Boone, Fall Branch Volunteer Fire Department. He's the public information officer, getting some video for us today. This off Mitchell Road, northern Washington County, out in Gray, off exit 10 there, Eastern Star exit. Incredible video damage there. We've got more of that coming up and some impressive pictures right after this break. A few spotty showers possible tomorrow, a passing shower or two, otherwise partly cloudy to cloudy at times, our high at 76 degrees. And we're going to stay relatively cool for this time of the year. 70s again on Wednesday and Thursday, low to mid 80s into the weekend. A few hit and miss scattered showers coming our way as well. So keep that in mind. We're talking about Wings Air Rescue doing our tornado tour today. Joe Doyle, pilot, and also John Smith and Tim Cox taking us up today. Had an amazing tour. Want to show you also, when we talk about tornadoes, we talk about the enhanced Fujita scale, and most of our tornado activity, we've had 2 reports now in the region. They are now declared EF1 tornadoes, and this just coming in, Rock Springs tornado EF1, 110 mile per hour winds. The path is a half mile long, 50 yards wide. The second tornado in the Gray area, EF1, and the National Weather Service also putting 100 mile per hour winds on that. How about this, guys? The path, 7.1 miles, 300 yards wide. So, and again, that's some of the damage you're seeing. And this is an aerial shot from our Wings Air Rescue. You can see that tour there at Mitchell Road in Gray. That's the house that Kylie has been standing at. We took a picture of that. You can see the roof damage. This is the house right next door to, down the street actually. I think this is actually on Hidden Valley Road. But you can see the damage here with those. And here is a Rock Springs house. I want to show you this. Look at the damage with the house. This is where we believe the tornado, the first one in Rock Springs, touched down. I'm going to switch the picture around. Look at the house right next to it. Let's go back again right here real quick. Look at the house there as I'm flipping through these. The White House roof. no damage, hardly some damage.
Yeah.
But there, we're going to give you a closer inspection. You can see the damage with that house right there from the air, and that's why aerial tours are so valuable, because you can see the debris field, and whether or not we had a twist, which we had with those trees.
With those storms, I mean, you were on the air with Brian all afternoon yesterday, warning people that this is coming.
And the warnings paid off. You got to see the damages you've already set up in the air. Let's look at some video of it, Mark, and tell us what we're seeing.
Yeah, you're looking
that's
at that again where Kylie is, right there's off Mitchell Road, and again, that's right off the exit 10 there, Eastern Star exit. And as we traveled, we actually flew up to the Bays Mountain area, turned around and came back. So this is some of the damage you're seeing on our path.
Look at the trees.
Yeah, trees just cut right in half there.
My
and again,
goodness.
this is what 100 mile per hour winds will do with the EF1 tornado. Again, two tornadoes, two distinct tornado paths, one in the Rock Springs area, the other just around the Gray area and down to Highway 36. But you see the trees, you see the damage here. And while you're looking at that video, another important information here, we talked about Leslie County yesterday, 1.7 mile path of tornado there, EF1, and Claiborne and Campbell counties in Tennessee, an EF3 tornado with winds of 140 to 150. So a lot of tornado activity. You can see the debris right there. And that I cannot stress enough to those who were affected. Our hearts go out to you tonight, but those who called complaining, this is the reason we stay on the air for severe weather.
Exactly.
Because it was a very tragic day in our area yesterday.
Amazing to see those circles on the radar as you were showing, and now to see what was actually happening.
And they verified quite nicely too.
They did.
Yep.
Right,
Mark,
thanks, Mark.
We've got Monday's Most Wanted next. Stay with us.
You're watching News Channel 11 in your corner at 6.
One day after a domestic dispute ended in deadly gunfire in a Glade Spring, Virginia home tonight, the Washington County, Virginia Sheriff's Office tells us the shooter was supposed to surrender the guns he used to kill his son, his wife, and mother-in-law. Thanks for joining us at 6. I'm Sarah Diamond.
And I'm Josh Smith. And investigators told us that Kevin Palmer was served with a preliminary order of protection 12 hours before he walked into his in-laws' home on Graceland Lane yesterday morning, forced his way inside, and carried with him a loaded rifle and a handgun, despite a court document which ordered him to stay away from his family. Today, Sheriff Fred Newman told us the guns used to kill Kristen and Griffin Palmer should have been turned over to police when Kevin Palmer was served with that order of protection, but that never happened. We obtained new court documents today detailing Kevin's arrest last week, charging him with the assault and battery of his wife and son. Despite those charges, we've learned that Kevin Palmer was quickly able to post bail. An affidavit written by Kristen Palmer herself details years of physical, mental, and emotional abuse that she and Griffin suffered. Her words paint a picture of paralyzing fear for her life and also for the safety of her family. Well, tonight, those words haunt a community struggling to come to terms with the senseless acts of violence.
Well, many of you reached out to us on our WJHL Facebook page, wondering if the system failed the family, asking why didn't police search Kevin's home for those guns?
Tonight, News Channel 11's Allie Hines took those very questions straight to the Washington County, Virginia Sheriff's Office to get answers.
This scene, according to people who knew the Palmers, is the ending to a story that had been going on for years.
About 6 years ago, when I was called to come to the school, Virginia High School, to meet with her, I think she had came to school with a broken nose and black eyes. She appeared to be very scared of her husband and afraid to go back to the situation, but she was also equally scared to not go back.
Then, 6 years later, the abuse still happening, Kristen Palmer told law enforcement about the instances of recent abuse. She shared her husband pushed her down a flight of stairs and grabbed their son Griffin by the throat, punching him in the face. Kevin Palmer was arrested for domestic abuse last week, but then posted bail quickly after and was released. Then, on February 24th, the day before Kristen and Griffin died, she filed an order of protection.
It's extremely hard to monitor that individual. Once he's served here, she is served, and basically they're put on notice to not have contact with that individual. And again, we're hoping that if they abide by the guidelines of that protective order, that, it won't happen.
The sheriff says under a protective order, Palmer wasn't allowed to have weapons, but there's no system in place to search the home or make sure the person doesn't keep their weapons.
I think regardless of where she was at, regardless of what she was doing, this is a case where he would have killed her once he found her.
Allie Hines, News Channel 11, in your corner.
Kathy Johnson says in her 12 years working at the shelter, she has never seen a case where the victim was murdered, let alone family members.
Well, as students, teachers, and staff try to cope with the loss of Kristen and Griffin Palmer, they want the community to remember how remarkable they were. Flags were at half-staff at Virginia High School, where Kristen Palmer taught English and drama for more than 20 years. Students set up a memorial in the school's auditorium where a picture of Kristen surrounded by messages, memories, awards, and flowers.
Students may continue doing some aspect of the plays that she has started. They want to wear a certain color on certain days. They just want to continue throughout the rest of the year to pay honor to her.
Well, the graduating class of 2013 also set up a scholarship in Kristen's name. Everyone is invited to a remembrance ceremony to honor her and remember her tomorrow night at 6:30. It'll be held at the Virginia High School auditorium. Also, friends, students, and faculty will pack into Patrick Henry High School's auditorium to remember 17-year-old Griffin Palmer. This is tomorrow night. Griffin played football and baseball there at the school. That service open to the public as well. Everyone is encouraged to wear purple.
Countless hours coupled with old-fashioned police work and determination to crack a more than 2-year-old cold case in Kingsport have paid off. Tonight, a man police call a calculating killer is in jail, charged with the murder of Betty Sue Short. The break in the Kingsport murder case, an update to a story that's been the focus of multiple reports, including our Monday's Most Wanted segment. Kingsport investigators believe this is their man. 42-year-old Jonathan Slimp, arrested yesterday after a lengthy investigation that police told us consisted of countless man-hours, nearly 100 witness interviews across 4 states. Well, that hard work paid off, they say, for the family of Betty Sue Short, who have waited for this day since her murder in October 2011. The crime scene so horrific, investigators say it still haunts them. Police told us Betty's skull was crushed with a blunt object by the man she knew and went to school with, her son.
For a while, we have been looking at Mr. Slimp and developing the case as we go along. I don't want to get into a specific time period.
Slimp is charged with first-degree murder, felony murder, and especially aggravated robbery. Sullivan County Sheriff's investigators told us Slimp was also an acquaintance of one of the victims in 2 unsolved murders. Investigators said they continue to search for clues to find out if Short's killer could have committed those murders as well. It's important to note the Sheriff's Office has not named Slimp as a suspect in any other cases, but they told us they have not ruled him out as a suspect either.
New at 6 tonight, we continue to follow a local legislator's promise to do more about the abuse of adults in Tennessee. After our community watchdog investigation alerted him of a high number of abusers in our region, Senator Rusty Crowe, chairman of the Senate Health and Welfare Committee, held a hearing today in Nashville about elder abuse. For more than an hour, representatives of the Commission on Aging and Disability and Tennessee Healthcare Association discussed this problem, including the fact that abuse, whether by family, friends, or caretakers, is underreported. The committee learned for every report of elder abuse, 5 others are abused. Now comes the big question: how does the state fix it?
How do we deal with the situation to make it clear that this is just not acceptable? This is not acceptable.
Well, the purpose of today's hearing was to figure out how the state can adjust laws to properly punish abusers and discourage others from abusing as well. Senator Crowe has a bill up for discussion next week in committee that would require tougher penalties for abusers. He's previously said the only thing that could hold up the law would be the cost to enact it. Well, 5 years after the government decided to spend $816 billion to save the American economy and bring the nation back from its brink, a News Channel 11 investigation is tracking that cash.
If you haven't figured out how to spend it in 5 years, maybe the taxpayers ought to have it back.
Stimulus money spent and still nothing to show for it. President Obama and Democrats in Congress crafted the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act with the promise that it would end the recession and that America could track every dollar spent. Tonight, News Channel 11's Kylie McGivern brings us the second installment of our You Paid For It series on how millions of taxpayer dollars were spent right in our own backyards. The findings tonight from our investigation into a St. Paul, Virginia project, because after all, you paid for it.
Nestled in the mountains of Appalachia
lining this quaint downtown street lies a white picket fence. A reminder of the all-American dream.
Way back in the 50s and the early 60s, it was booming down through there. I was brought up with coal. It helped a lot of people.
But it's a dream some in the town of St. Paul, Virginia, say died along with the coal industry.
As the coal mines closed down, you know, people had to leave.
Downtown building owner Janie Vickers is one who stayed, still waiting to see St. Paul return to its former glory.
We're hoping to get, you know, people back.
In 2009, the stimulus, or American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, was meant to do just that, create and preserve jobs in the aftermath of the recession. As a part of the $831 billion boost to the economy, St. Paul received nearly $2 million to enhance its dated wastewater treatment plant. But today, 5 years later, a federal government website lists the project status as not started, no plant, just plans. Where has the money gone?
Well, there's basically two reasons it was stalled. One was money. And the other reason was that when we got ready to bid it, the first time we had to build a diffuser. And that took several months out of the project. We take the sludge out of here. That was an expensive item. And it turned out to be a little more expense involved in that than we thought.
How much money was that?
It's about an extra $200,000 or $300,000. And then when we got started working on this plant, Dominion had found out that they would never send near the effluent that they thought they would send.
Town Mayor Kyle Fletcher says because of money, time, and Dominion Virginia Power pulling a majority of its involvement in the plant,
we had to rethink the project a little bit.
Rethink and rework, ultimately to the tune of millions of dollars, with Dominion helping to cover some of the costs.
Whatever agreements we had to make with Dominion, we did that. It still worked out. We're okay.
Original designs costing roughly $600,000 tossed out.
Through that process of redoing that, then we downsized.
What was once slated to be a 9 million gallon tank will now hold 5 million gallons, with a design that allows for expansion to a 7.5 million gallon tank. St. Paul will hold 50% of the capacity, Russell County 30%, and Wise County 20%. So what's the timeline now for this project?
Well, we hope to have this finished in about a year, 13, 14 months, something like that.
The price tag for the plant that still sits at a plan, around $6.2 million, funded through federal grants and taxpayer dollars that many locals, we learned, knew nothing about.
Well, it surprises me because I don't know anything about it.
It is a surprise that we don't know a lot about it, especially $1.8 million.
Ann Hubbard hears a lot of talk working at a local diner, but not as much as you would think about a project boasting such regional impact.
It'd bring more industries in here, knowing that, you know, more businesses this town could pick up just a little bit because it's kind of dead.
Northeast Tennessee Republican Congressman Phil Rowe says it isn't about hidden costs, broken deals, or setbacks. It's about results.
We said, remember, you had to have shovel-ready projects right now. You couldn't plan something. If you haven't figured out how to spend it in 5 years, maybe the taxpayers ought to have it back.
But if you ask Vickers, anything worth having is worth waiting for.
I would like to see them all get back to work and get things going because a lot of things have went down. It takes a lot to get a town like this, you know, back to where it was.
Where it was and where the mayor says he knows St. Paul can be.
With the coal mines disappearing, these other things we've got to look the light industry. If you've got the infrastructure here now and we do our water and sewer better, and with the transportation and the truck traffic you get through here, where we are, St. Paul is in the center of all of it. We're prepared for that we're going to get some more action.
Mayor Fletcher says that the latest plan is supposed to be shovel-ready by April. You can find where money was spent in your neighborhood through the government website designed to track stimulus dollars. That link is on our website, and that's WJHL.com.
Kylie, thank you very much. Sarah?
Josh, a 4-year-old child suffered life-threatening injuries after a fatal crash that shut down a portion of Interstate 26 in Kingsport today. That crash happened about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Kingsport police tell us a Honda Civic driven by Terry Temple veered off the road, overcorrected, and slammed into an SUV that was stopped on the shoulder of the interstate. Police tell us that Temple died. A 4-year-old child in the back seat of that car was airlifted to UT Medical Center in Knoxville.
Well, Well, prepare to crank up the heat again. The temperatures we're expecting to tumble into the teens overnight.
Yep, Chief Meteorologist Mark Reynolds says the frigid forecast will stick around just a few days, though, right, Mark?
That's right, just maybe 1 or 2 nights. That's it. Then we'll warm right back up for the weekend. I think you're going to like it. Your accurate storm team forecast is coming up. Stay right there.